Need to loosen them, tighten them?
Just fine for me. I don't think I really noticed anything until after I ride it a while as far as what kind of difference it would make other than from now until then, but from stock to this.
What about that bump I told you to go over?
Yeah, I hit it pretty good too. Also, I like did it with like no hands, you know, which I would never have done with the stock ones, and it was doing good on that road even. So imagine on the highway and everything. I just want to go straight. I want to go straight. I want to go fast while I go straight.
Well, let me get my shoes on.
ThrillMouseMoto. You know, it's getting pretty serious if Kevin's threatening to put his shoes on with his Fred Flintstone toes he likes to sport in most of my videos. But to date, we are installing, actually it's not today, this is actually a while ago, but people, I know they've been waiting for it because they've been seeing it on all the pictures of my Ryker 600. I installed the Elka Stage 3 suspension shocks on the front. Nothing on the back yet, but I do have the Stage 3 Elkas. They're cool. I can talk more about them throughout the tape, but it's pretty much just us installing it. If you've seen the videos before, most of them aren't very close to how-to videos or step-by-step, but it's something that I'm going to do anyways, so I might as well film it and just show you whatever I show you. And it's pretty much the process. We kind of don't skip anything, but like I said, we might not get close to anything, but that's them. The Elka Stage 3s. That's a little piece of paper that comes with it. It'll let you know what it's set for. When you order them, they will ask you what, like your weight, if you ride with a passenger on the back, how you ride, like what type of style, and I forget what that actually means, but I just say I'm not racing. I'm just kind of riding around. I forgot really what I told them I was doing as far as style, but I think that just goes for different types because they do like four-wheelers and ATVs type stuff, as you can see in the pictures, a little book there, but I'm not going to show you all that boring stuff, but I did want to show you what's in it, the little pamphlet it comes with, and it shows you how to adjust them. That's kind of the coolest thing about it. It does come preloaded with the specs that I just mentioned that they ask you, but you can, you know, get freaky with it, change it around, see if you like it to have more pressure or whatever. But this is actually the important piece of paper because when you install them, you need to have that page or just have the manual period that you can reference, but we just printed out the page that shows the torque specs of the two bolts that you have to remove and put back on for the new shocks. So we'll go over that, but first you got to take the whole little front fascia off the Ryker. It's just two screws at the two bolts at the bottom, and then you just click off at the top. And I wanted to get a shot of that grill doing its work. Those are actual New Mexican bugs from the trip, and then New Mexico, which is like the current video series that I got running right now, where Ryan and I take our Ryker 600s to New Mexico. Those videos were, or that trip was like a couple days before we did this. So I really would have enjoyed having these shocks on that trip. But of course, after I do 1,200 miles or whatever straight on this thing in a couple of days, I finally upgrade to something that would have been pretty cool to have during that trip. You can see these gnarly stock things, which I'm not a very big fan of. Most of the stock stuff, and that's why we have videos like this where we upgrade them, but you got to get the old ones off. So we got two of us, so we utilize that. You got Kevin on the back end holding down the bolt, or one of us holding down the bolt, the other one's taking off the nut, and that's all it is. There's one on the top of the strut, and there's one on the bottom that we're pointing out there. And at this point we're just loosening them. We're going to take the nut off, and keep the bolt in. But right now, like I said, we're just loosening them. We have it on the jack, or we have it on the ramps, and then we end up jacking it up, and then we're able to then pull the bolts out at that point to replace. So loosen it so we can jack it. Got them on the ramps right now. And that's just kind of how we've been doing things. So ramps are cool. It gets you up there and it gets you started, and you use the jack for everything else. And that's just taking the compression off right there, off the stock ones. So still got everything in, just got them loose. They just don't want to make it harder once we get it on the jack. Kind of like when you replace tires, you want to loosen up the lug nuts first before you start jacking it up. And this does taking that nut off of the bolt. I think we still keep the bolts in at this point, but got to get the nut off. And like I said, you can do it yourself. You just have to hold down the other side. But yeah, there's two of us, and Kevin's pretty good about doing stuff quick, so we knock it out. Bottom one first, then the top one. I'm just going to show just one side. I'm not going to do both sides. 'Cause like I said, this isn't exactly an how-to. I just like to show people kind of what they're going to get into when they order it. They order an upgrade like this, or just replacing the shock ones, whatever you got. I don't know. There's actually another cool brand. I forget what it's called, that you can do on the front too. So these are just the ones that I picked out. Kevin actually has the same ones. I know Quasimoto, we end up hanging out with him, I think a little bit after this video. I think he has the 4, and those are pretty sweet too, the stage 4. These are the stage 3 Elka suspension. So you can see the bolt. It looks like the bolt's on my side, and Kevin's taking that nut off on his side there. Like I said, just one bolt to the bottom, one bolt to the top. Looks just like that. And this is Kevin wiggling out that bolt, and you can see we have it on the jack. It's off the ramp, so the wheel's just kind of hanging there. It's kind of floating over that ramp. So now we're able to take the bolts out, and we make the stock ones look bad once we put these new Elkas in, man. They just look hot. Look at those. That's too cool, man. I was pretty stoked. I like the looks, and then after that, once I start riding on them, as you saw in the beginning of the video, obviously it's like Christmas when I try them out on my Ryker for the first time. But it's a whole new Ryker. But we're just putting the bottom bolt in first of the new Elka shock, and then doing the same thing to the top bolt. Like I said, it's just 2 bolts and 2 nuts. It's really just jacking it up, getting it up there, and then really when you put it back on, just making sure you do the right pounds of torque for both the bottom and the top bolt, because they are different from each other. You just get that from the manual. It's no big deal. And you have that torque wrench. So, but Kevin's got all the cool tools, if you haven't heard me say that before. So we get that in, and then we just pop the nut on both of the bolts, and then we just tighten it down. And we just do that with the 2 sockets again, same way we did. But we're not going to go, straight Hulk on it at a certain point. We're just going to get them on there real tight, because like I said, we're going to use a torque wrench to get it down to spec. I mean, when you're doing stuff like suspension and stuff, it's probably going to be good to make sure you follow the rules on that. Like I said, this is not a how-to, so don't listen to me 100%. I'm just showing you what I had to go through. I'm not telling you what to do, but I do know that when it comes down to mechanics and auto stuff, torquing down to specs is going to be good, especially when it holds you together, like, with your life and stuff. So, especially with these things, man. But getting it tight, he's holding down the nut, I'm screwing down the bolt, and then we'll get the torque wrench out and refer to the manual, which is good. Everyone does that, right? You read it front and back and all that stuff. And I'm not really showing, I'm just kind of showing you the page so you can reference it if you decide to do it. But I think it's like 45 pounds on the bottom and like 37 on the top or something. But it's pretty easy once you get it going. And he's got I want to say Kevin has a new, like, super cool torque wrench at this point. He was showing me the other day that we used on something else. I think we're just trying to make sure my wheels or his wheels or something were tight. So we use that little adapter to do that. And then everything was to spec. So it's cool. It's cool to check stuff like that just to kind of ease your mind. A lot of people have a lot of issues with Rykers, and it's cool to have the right tools to check. But that shows it right there, 37. And then 45 for the bottom. But we're at that point. All we did was just, we put the bolt back in, put the nuts back on the back, and tighten it down. Just, not, like I said, not going super Hulk on it, but we'll let the torque wrench do that. You can see I'm just kind of spinning on it. So there was still definitely room to tighten it, and then you'll see it break. like right there. And then I put it back on just to do it one more time to make sure, and brakes. So, and then voila, look at that, dude. So this is the point where I make the decision to kind of like spin the spring around a little bit, so you can see there's like an Elka print on it with like their little logo text. So I figured it'd be cool to flex that kind of toward the front, because once you put compression on, you're not gonna be able to do that until you jack it back up again. So I do that to both of them, but that shows you how gnarly that stock one looks and how cool that Elka looks. Like I said, it doesn't have to be Elka. I'm not trying to push that out there. It's just that just looks cooler, dude. You can put probably like any one of the cool aftermarket shocks on there, and it's just gonna be way better. Even the one that's not even the stage 3 Elka. There's like a 2 or something that looks just, it doesn't have that little side part there. And then boom, with magic, we put the other one on and give it its first compression. But that was it. You take the bolts out, you put the new one on, you put the bolts back in, and then you torque them down to spec. I mean, there's not a whole lot to it. Just knowing what tools you need, but that's all easy stuff. Like I said, it was like 2 sockets. And that's just us taking the Ryker off the ramps. Actually, Kevin's been looking at a lift that they make for the Rykers, where it does, I think it's basically like a jack that finds like a center spot in the middle and then just jacks it up. I don't know if it actually has tracks each wheel needs to be on or anything like that, but it's pretty cool. I've seen pictures of it. If I have one, I'll post one on here. Make sure with now that you have tension on and compression on the shocks to check the torque again. Like make sure you have it down to spec. So I don't know, just kind of like double checking, making sure type of a thing. It's always going to be good, especially when it comes down to suspension, because there's lots of room to complain about certain things or say you have a certain feeling. So it's always good to make sure that you have it 100% or the way that it's supposed to be. Then you just got to pop the nose back on or the front fascia, and then get the and that's kind of a drag. I mean, that's not this part really, even though it's like one of the things that I don't like about the Rykers is like the plastic on plastic on plastic on plastic, especially the way it like warps and heat and things like that. So it never really seems like it's setting right or feel right. You just have to get over it. Sorry. I wish everything had bolts and had more metal, but it just doesn't.
You want your helmet so you can get a reaction shot?
Drive home. When I drive home.
Oh, okay. Well, got a car coming. So if you go right, you'll end up on a road that curves back to the main road. There's a nice bump in it. You're good. So go to the stop sign, take a right, then an immediate right, and then follow that road to the main road. Well,
Too good. Look at me. Look at me.
need to loosen them, tighten them.
Just fine for me. I don't think I really noticed anything until after I ride it a while as far as what kind of difference it would make other than from now until then, but from stock to this.
What about that bump I told you to go over?
Yeah, I hit it pretty good too. Also, I like did it with like no hands, which I would never have done with the stock ones, and it was doing good on that road even. So imagine on the highway and everything.
Yeah, like I said, Christmas morning for me as a Ryker rider, and it has been a long time. It's only been like 4 months at this point. And it's, when you ride it a certain way, especially when you come back from a long trip across the state and back on the stock stuff, and then you switch it out to that, I really know what the difference is like. But I'm not going to lie, just like most upgrades I do, I really forget what it used to be. After a while, the feeling is off, and you're thinking that maybe it's the same as it was before. But one of the advantages I have is that Ryan, which is in the same household as me, has a Ryker 600 that is 100% stock, and we'll just trade at the lights and stuff like that when we're just cruising on our own. and I'll ride his for a bit, and it's night and day, and it's always good to be able to do that and kind of humble me up some on my upgrades. So I dig it. It's a big deal for me to be able to do something like that, to assure myself that my upgrades were the right decision at the time, because there's plenty to do and there's plenty more to come. I would say like my handlebars, that'll be probably one of the next kind of like install videos. So those have been going a long way for me, and I still feel them. So
How's it feel?
Great. On those holes, I was trying to hit every one of them, and I'm telling you, they would have felt like it was gonna break in half before. And this one just went doo doo, doo doo, doo doo, doo.
thanks for watching. I got other videos coming out. I actually did forget to mention how much they cost. They were like $840 something total by the end of it, and it took like 2 weeks to come in. So it sounded like something I should have mentioned earlier. But thanks for watching, and I got more to come.